Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Monday and welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal, your hostess with a mostess. Well, when you see what we've got in store for you tonight again, with the beautiful Beverly Rhodes in the background waiting, we are going to be talking again about the royals. I think it's so interesting because talking about the princesses and their involvement, how they fit in, super interesting. I think it's really important because, even though I think Beatrice and Eugenie aren't necessarily sort of always at the forefront, they still form really important cogs in the wheel, I think, so to speak. So very interesting, and especially with their daddy-o being at the forefront of all this nonsense, right? So let's just go through this week's schedule before we bring Bev on. There's quite a lot going on again. So, of course, tonight, Monday, the 1st of December, pinch punch, beginning of the month, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic December. Can you believe it's December? Oh my word. I can't. Okay, Beverly Rhodes, tonight as we speak, it's happening. Tomorrow on Solutions with Shanti at 3 o'clock Central Africa time. Mini series part 6. We're talking about the hexagon then, which is really cool. So if you haven't caught that mini series yet, that's happening. Just explaining what the Ankara field is, and because what it really, we're moving from a lot of the survivor trauma, pain, and just people having trauma in general. And then solutions is the healing aspect. How do we overturn that? How do we change that? How do we collapse the existing timelines? What do we do? Because the only way that we're really going to elevate in the way that we truly want to is by collapsing the existing timelines and reclaiming our original timelines, right? So that's what we're doing there. Then, of course, tomorrow, 5 o'clock again, Jamie J. Fantastic show again with Jamie. Catch that. That's the last in our series for now with Jamie. So if you haven't caught our previous shows with her, please do. Really informative, a brilliant, brilliant researcher, social worker, worked a lot with survivors, so has a lot of knowledge on these topics. And then, of course, tomorrow night with Beverly and I, spiritual forensics. I think we're still deciding on that topic. Then, of course, Wednesday in the morning, live with Rachel Vaughan from Australia. Always have amazing conversations with her. And then in the afternoon again with Jesse, Double Trouble with Jesse. Join us for that. Thursday, Dr. Dennis Carroll, live with him. And then Friday, of course, drop in with Shanti. We talking, yeah, I'm going to be talking about something very interesting, but catch that. And then, of course, yes, I'm going to be chatting with Danny Henderson. Awesome to have her as a guest as well. And then, of course, Jesse has the Patreon. We've got the Patreon members on Friday as well. So we're doing a deep dive into the Harry Potter, what's happening in Harry Potter with that. So that's going to be a Patreon as well. And then Saturday, the Reham. Saturday evening, Jerry Marzinski, and he's joined by Jamie J. So Jamie J and Jerry Marzinski will be on Saturday evening. And then, of course, the Sunday Loop. And then again, Patreon Book Club with Jesse on Sunday. And of course, our members and Patreons to join the book club and to join the live show, please email on Patreon. You'll be receiving the links. But the members, if the YouTube members could please just email Mornay your YouTube handle as well as your link and your email address, and then we can actually email you the link to join us for those as well. So that's members and Patreons. Busy week coming up, guys. Jeez, I hope you're all going to be hanging in there with us and keeping our little boat afloat. Yeah. And it's a wonderful welcome to everybody again in the chat. Really nice to see you all again on Monday night crew. Yay. And without any further ado, the lady herself. Hello, Madame Beverly. So lovely to see
Hello,
you
how are
again. How
you?
are
Nice
you?
to
How's the
see
week
you. Yes,
been?
it's been a busy week, that's for sure. Getting ready for the big conference, so that's going to be great, and that's happening. I think it was the 14th. Well, it's actually the 11th until the 15th of December here in the UK, down in Pusey, and that's going to be a huge disclosure event where we're talking about all things UFO, all things star people, all things Stargate, all the things that we want to do. There's loads of people speaking, so it's a huge event. So I've been busy with my presentation because I have 90 minutes. My goodness, 90 minutes to fill. So I'm going to be able to say lots of things, which is exciting, really.
Well, listen, 90 minutes for you is like, I think 10 seconds for everyone. I mean, yeah, it's like 10 seconds. I don't know. You know what I mean, right? Gosh.
I
I mean,
do.
that'll be a
Yeah, I've got
breeze for
got lots
you.
lots to tell. Lots to tell. Yeah, lots to tell. And the good thing is this
Yeah.
time I
Is
have a bit of help with people, and they're doing some AI images for me as well. They're helping with AI images, so I'm really pleased with it because I tell them what I saw, and then they're both able to come up with all these amazing images. I think, oh my goodness, look at that! That looks exactly like what I saw. So I'm just as excited.
That's so cool. I mean, and I know I saw you being interviewed. Hello, Danny. Are you back from Thailand, babe? So
She
nice
is.
to see you. Yeah. Oh, nice. So I saw you being interviewed for that conference, actually. Is that the one that you and Penny Bradley are going to be on together, right?
Yes, we'll both be together, and we're all staying at the same hotel. So I'm gonna go and hunt to see where Penny is and say hello. We have a friend in common. It's
No,
Shanti.
she's doing it on Zoom. She's actually not traveling. She's actually
Oh,
doing it
she's
on
not
Zoom.
coming.
That I think
Hmm.
she's
She's
yeah,
staying in the
she's
warm.
doing it on Zoom. But that
Good. It's cold here.
yeah. So you almost catch that conference
Mm.
if you wanna yeah, Beverly, do you wanna just tell people I'm gonna pop up your banner, yeah? But yeah, I guess everything is on your website, right? And whatever other information you guys will find in the description area that you require, and or get in touch with the lovely Beverly, right?
Should be
Beverly.
nice. It's going to
Hello,
be fun.
everybody.
And also, I had lots of people
Yeah.
sending messages to my website saying, if we like all the pictures, we like all the drawings of our auras and our toroidal fields. When can I have one? And what do they cost? And how do you order one? All that sort of thing. So I'm going to be putting it onto my website. So if you want one of those pictures, I will need a reasonably recent picture of you, and then I'll be able to do one for you. So there we go. And they're not that expensive. They're about 12 or 15 pounds, and they're all done by me. Nobody else does them, and they're obviously AI generated. But I tell the AI what I'm seeing, and then they create something which is really pretty. So if you want one, let me know.
And that's amazing because you know you what you do is you actually read the aura and you
Mm,
or the energy, the toroidal field around the body, and you actually deep dive and you dissect that and you analyze that, which is super cool. And so yeah, well we doing more on the royals tonight, right?
we
So
are.
tell us a little bit about the princesses and why it's important, especially I think at this
Mm,
time that we're living in now, with the Epstein files, with Daddy O being a
yeah.
dirty daddy. Wow.
That's a good one. I like
And
that. The dirty daddy.
obviously,
I love it.
he, he's a dirty daddy. Ah.
Yeah, yes.
um, but I think also, you know, I have no doubt that these girls have also, Eugenie and Beatrice, have also been very much involved in that satanic cult. They must have also been through 27 different kinds of hell in their young lives as young girls.
Yeah.
Um, but hey, I mean, I'd like to know what you have to say about that.
Well, they had changed, they very sadly, really. They have changed from being these very innocent young girls to where they're stuck with this issue now. And also, I mean, it's very embarrassing for them. And that's the one thing that I'd seen with their energy, where they're starting, you know, when you get embarrassed and you get afraid, you start pulling your energy in, and you make yourself as small as you can so that you don't get seen and you don't have people sort of asking you difficult questions. And I think all of that is definitely happening with them now, because they know that what's coming with the dirty daddy is there's going to be further stains on the family. There's going to be more allegations, going to be a lot of issues around there, a lot. So one of the daughters has turned around and said to her mother, Fergie, if anything does really go quite wrong, then come and stay with us, and there is a granny flat that you can go and stay in. So at least we know that if anything goes really through the ringer, we know then that Fergie can go and stay in the granny flat with one of her daughters. So it's a lot of trouble that's coming. And everybody says to me, yeah, but maybe it'll blow over. You know, it's just a scandal. It's all alleged. Maybe it'll blow over, and maybe there won't be all that sort of issue. But no, it's not going to blow over, and that's the issue that we've got. Is it is continuing, and it's not going to be just a flash in the pan. It is going to continue, and it's going to continue right into next year. So it's quite interesting to see that. The other thing is Prince William and Prince Harry. With everything that's happening with the dirty daddy and those, Prince William and Prince Andrew are Prince William being pushed together at an event next year. And that's one thing that is absolutely key, is the two of them will be forced to go or choose which one of them is going to some of these key events, because they're both on the invitation list and they both have interest in these. So we've got, as I've said earlier, the light is shining down. And what is going to happen is the light is shining down, which means those two individuals are going to be exposed to the light, which means people are going to see them in a different way next year. So we've got a lot in the summer coming out where the two of them are going to be at each other, or they're going to be in two different places. And then we're going to see both of them in the public eye because they'll both be at the same events. It's going to be quite horrendous, but certainly a good learning curve for the two lads.
What do you think? I mean, as someone who's British and been living in the UK pretty much your whole life, other than your little stint here, the royal family is such a powerful, it's the symbol of the British people, right? It's pretty much what the British people build their image around, so to speak, is that they are part of the royal monarchy. What do you think is going to happen when things start crumbling to the UK, when the royal family? It's bound to happen, because anything that evil is never going to stay. Maybe not in our life, or, you know, it might start now. You know, the whole domino effect will start now, and maybe end up, who knows how this works. You know, God has a really mysterious way of working. So anything can happen actually tomorrow, for all we know. But what do you think? I mean, there's such a huge issue in the UK around the royal family. There's so much division around the royal family.
There is.
At this point. It has to give. So what's your take on that, as well as the future of the British monarchy?
Well, this is it. So I think a lot of, and I might add, yes, as much as the royals are the face of the British royals, we've also got a bulldog that's the face of UK, and the robin bird. So there's a couple of images that when you think about the British Islands, Mud Island, you automatically think of the little red robin, which is always here, and you think of the British bulldog, because that was Winston Churchill made that very famous. And then you think of all of certain royals. And I think the one that still comes up when you do these polls, you still have Princess Diana. Princess Diana is still the most favorite face of the royals. She is the Queen of Hearts. She always will be. And those that are sort of trying to take her place will never, you know, she could just go ahead and try and take the place of the bulldog. That's a better place for her. But nonetheless, I digress. So I think that what will happen is eventually you will see that certain royals will not be working anymore, but there will be some surprises next year, because I think there are a couple of royals that are maybe not doing as much right now that will then be cast into a higher position, because they will need to take on some of the royal duties. So we're going to see a change, a swift change and a wave of change happening within the royals. But I do think that at some point they won't be as important or center stage, because of the way that the world is changing. I think most people are at a point where they've just had enough of the 1% that have got loads of money, loads of position, are just able to do whatever they like, whenever they like, to whom, in whomsoever they like. And that is definitely changing. So that will change here too. And I think it's about time. I will say that a lot of families are divided. There are those that are absolute royalists who love the royals and would, you know, go and stand in front of Back Palace for hours and hours and hours of and in just to get a glimpse of them going past in the carriages or in the Land Rovers or whatever. There are those, but I will say they are lessening, because they are the old school. They're the older folks. I mean, when I look at it, my real parents were very involved with as royalists. They loved the royals. They loved everything to do with the royals, which is why they were in service in the first place. But then later on, all the children that came about and the grandchildren that came about, they're not particularly interested. A lot of people in my family, they've given up their titles. They don't want the tax. They don't want the hassle of it. They don't want the problem with the tax with the lands and how you've got to prove this and prove that. And there's a whole list of things you have to do with a title. And they just said, no, I don't want that. I don't want to be part of that, because I don't want to be associated with it, is what they said. So they gave up their titles. And this is what you will find. It's going that train that's going is really going, and it's really chugging along pretty fast. They are going to promote themselves, but I don't think that the public are as gullible as they used to be. You know, if you look at the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, very gullible. Whatever the royals were doing, they were up there on a pedestal. And I think this new energy from 3i Atlas and all of the energies around it that are coming down onto Earth, people are waking up. They're seeing people for what they are. They're seeing, and now we've got, as you said, Dirty Daddy out there doing all the things that he was doing. Nobody expected that to take place. They didn't. And now we're seeing them for what they actually are. And it's not a pretty sight. It really isn't a pretty sight.
Muted myself again. I think it's so true what you're saying. You know, it's going to be quite a reveal.
Yeah.
And I can understand, you know, to a point that I'm always hoping those who are in higher positions and that there are still some good guys up there as well. And I always have to hope that, yes, I can understand why this catastrophe has to be given to us in bite-sized chunks, you know, to reveal everything like this at once to humans. I mean, it's amazing how many people are still fast the F asleep, though. I mean, it's also amazing how many people have woken up. I get it. But there'll be people that have, let's say, woken up to the jab and what that was about. And that's, you know, buying into that conspiracy and realizing, well, you know, there's nothing good about that. But that is but the tip of the iceberg, the teeny tiny tip of the iceberg. Because when you start opening up that rabbit hole, it's going to take you down what we've been talking about for all these years. And most people I know around here, locally, are not ready for that.
Oh.
They are not ready for that type of So I can understand why. I mean, I can imagine it must be a mass psychosis. And can you imagine the loosh harvesting exercise that would take place then? Can you
Oh,
imagine the
that,
loosh that would be harvested
yeah, free
if
for all.
if we
There we
would
go.
if we
Yeah, this is it. They will have
it's
lots,
such a
lots of people.
delicate balance.
Mm,
Yeah, it's such a delicate balance where we are right now, isn't it?
it is. It's
Energetically.
very. It is.
We it's so important that we just maintain in our integrity and discernment and truth,
Yeah.
because boy, are we going to be having some tidal waves coming our way, because we are. And we've got to be able to stand strong and learn to surf those tidal waves. You can't learn to surf the tidal wave. You've got to start surfing now already. So by the time the tidal wave comes, you're surfing it, baby. You know, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot coming, but we're equipped, and we have to know that we're equipped. We have to know that. We can't be standing shivering in fear. We know this is a spiritual battle right now. We know that. Beverly, you are one of the people that has seen the dark side of
Mm,
this planet and what people are capable of. There's not even a question. I mean, it's not even a fairy tale for you. It's not even a maybe. This is
no.
what is going on. And you've seen it firsthand. So have thousands and thousands of others.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time. So we have to just maintain and allow people just to, I guess, unopen their eyes one at a time.
And it has to be one at a time, because I think sometimes when you lay bare everything that does go on, and you stitch together what I'm saying, what 3 or 4 other survivors are saying, what other individuals are saying, and when you stitch all that together, and then you look for the commonality between our testimonies, it is so obvious that we're all seeing the same thing. We've all been involved in the same thing. We've all been forced to do the same thing. We've all been told to keep quiet and threatened and all these things. And there's too many so-called coincidences, because they're not coincidences, because that was what was going on. And they're having to go further underground. They're having to take a lot of their information, a lot of their people that used to be trusted individuals are now speaking out. And I think also what's going to happen is, I was looking, while I was busy with Beatrice and Eugenie, I was looking at them and I thought, I'm going to have a look, because they've got a lot of their mother's energy in them. And when you have a look at them, you can see that they're Fergie's children. You can absolutely see it. You've got the hair, and you've got the freckles, and you've got the whole look and feel.
Totally.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially when they were younger, they were very much their mother's daughters. They were absolutely. But what was very interesting is that when I looked at that, there was this very, very big energetic symbol on the side of both of the girls. And I thought, oh my word, that's Fergie. That's Fergie. And it's actually very green. And I thought, what on earth is she up to now? Because she's always up to something, but she's up to something really, really big. And the fact that there was this big pink section around Fergie, and there was also this big green section around the girls and Fergie. So my prediction is Fergie will meet someone and fall in love with someone else. And the second thing that I want to put forward is that she, i.e., Fergie, is going to be offered a huge amount of money. And when I mean huge, I mean telephone number figures. That's what I'm talking about. And she's going to be offered this as a carrot in front of her face to say, come on, we want you to talk. Dish the dirt about the rules, dish the dirt about what it is that you know and how you, and this huge amount of money, because she's very money orientated. She's going to look at that and say, well, actually, with that amount of money, I can secure my future, and I can secure Beatrice and Eugenie and make sure that they're fine, because they won't be ostracized because of what I say. And then for once and for all, I can be free and think of myself first, which a lot of people don't look at, though, at the three of them, Fergie, Beatrice, and Eugenie. They don't look at them as free individuals that can speak their own mind and live where they want to live and do what they want to do. They're still, even though they're not directly, particularly Fergie is not directly working for the crown or the firm, but Eugenie and Beatrice are. They're both working for the firm, but it means that if the truth comes out through Fergie, if she takes this huge amount of money, and I mean huge amount of money, if she takes this huge amount of money and starts speaking out, that book or that series or the mini series or the movie or whatever comes from that, because it's big money, everybody in the world is going to be flocking to go and see, because she will be the one person that if she turns around and says the picture with Andrew on the stairwell with Virginia Giuffre was factual, it is true, there's the dish the dirt, there's the emails, that's what he said, and we were trying to do the mop-up session. If she goes on and says that publicly, can you imagine the strife and the trouble? It's going to be like a fireball that will roll through the royal family. And this is what's coming for next year. There's going to be this huge carrot.
So she actually is a very powerful woman, because, I mean, if you look at Fergie, you know, we all kind of seem to dismiss her because she's not so much in the limelight. And I remember in the beginning, I really liked her actually, because I always saw her as the underdog, you know, and I always really thought that they would give her a really good stylist, because I thought she had so much potential to actually look like a lovely, gorgeous redhead that's dressed super nice, but they always dressed her in such a frumpy way. So I always thought that they tried to like make her out to be the laughing stock. So she was never intended. And again, I'm looking at this as some type of programming or cover or front, because really, if you look at the royal women, you know, especially the younger ones on the forefront, they are beautifully groomed. They are really very stylishly dressed. Why was she not given that? Why did she get a stylist who was dressing her like she was the laughing stock of the town? Whether you like that style or not, I remember that being all over the tabloids. So she was made to be the laughing stock, right? Never to be taken too seriously. And especially when you see her toes being sucked by some guy in the pool, you know. So all of this stuff, and her daughters as well, have been pretty low key in terms of exposure. Yes, of course, they've had exposure, but not as much as, of course, the brothers have had. So now we look at the situation here, and we see that this woman is holding so much weight. Because she could expose everything. I mean, if you think about the girls, it's not likely they're going to turn on their dad. And it's not likely they will turn on the royals, because they're part of the family, right? They're actually part of the bloodline. She's the wife. So like Diana, and I mean, she always professed to be very close to Diana, and I think they were close. She could really remember one of those final interviews of Diana when she sort of spilled the tea on Charles. I foresee that as well. It's exactly what you're saying. I mean, this woman is probably even more powerful than Diana Beverli. Think about that. I don't know. What is your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you, because when I had a good look at her, when I was looking at Princess Beatrice, because Princess Beatrice is the mommy's girl. She is got that energy where she's the one that's going to give the mommy the granny flat. As soon as Sarah Fergie moves out of the royal lodge, she's going to have a granny flat to go to. They're going to have to change the granny flat, and they're going to have to do it up. At the moment, I mean, it's not very royal, that's for sure, and it's a bit scruffy. But at least there is a roof above her head, and she won't have to run to Portugal or go live with friends and things like that. So she will be, and it's going to be Beatrice that Sarah Ferguson goes to. And at the end of it, Sarah Ferguson, when she decides, if she decides, because everything is a path of two. There's always a split in the path. There's a choice.
Right.
Free will. So on the one side, I'm saying the Sarah Ferguson Fergie person is going to have the option to say, yes, I'm going to be the one that dishes the dirt and do a Diana type style interview, movie, book, and everything about her position in the family as ex-wife of Randy Andy, and also as ex-wife to the person that knew what was going on, and tell her own truth. So she has got all of that. But then on the other side is, what is in it for her to keep stum? What is in it for her not to be an insider? What will she get? So she is going to be in a bit of a dilemma, but it is the choice. And she's going to be coming up, and I'm getting maybe January, February next year there's going to be where she's looked at in a not particularly good fashion. There's going to be something about the truth behind Fergie's so-called, she's a fantastic mother, she's this, she's that, she's going to win the Mother of the Year, she's really great. Well, actually, some of the princesses have basically will be coming forward and saying, well, she's not as great as you think she is. That's her public image. And actually, a lot of those photos were staged. And a lot of the photos where she was saying that she's this wonderful mother is actually her trying to counteract all the negative publicity. So we've got that happening for her as well. But I think that she's got the opportunity on that side of that decision, being that side is not saying anything. This side is dishing the dirt, blindsiding the royal family, going forward and saying, this is what I'm doing. She does have a place to stay. She does have the granny flat with Princess Beatrice. She does. She can move into that without any issue at all. She can move into the granny flat. She has got a place to be, and she can decide what she's going to do. I mean, it's not very nice at the moment, but you never know. Very soon, Fergie might end up having to call that granny flat her home. But if she gets put into that position yet again with zero money and zero ability to actually claw herself out, at the moment, that side with that very large energy ball, I'm thinking she's going to go for that. And if she goes for that, she will dish the dirt just the same way as Diana did. And we're in for a bumpy ride, because the type of stuff that she's going to say is going to be damning.
Well, I think more so than Diana, because at the time Diana came out, there was none of these allegations that were made public about any of them. I mean, at that stage, we were hearing about Diana's diaries and stuff she wrote about them, and a big shroud of mystery around the royal family and Buckingham and Windsor and all those places. Now, Andrew is pretty much a convicted pedo, right? Whether he's doing time or whether he's officially convicted is irrelevant. The world knows who Andrew is. So obviously there's so many more stories now as well, not only about Andrew, because to be perfectly honest, I have not heard one survivor speak about Andrew being part of their abusers. We hear about the other royals, but never Andrew being part of their abusers. I don't know. Maybe he was. I just haven't heard any of them speak that way, right? So who knows? That's why I say, Andrew, I'm not saying he's innocent. I definitely think he's a dirty daddy. And I think Fergie should call that book Dirty Daddy, because, when she gets the book, when she gets the book contract,
she should.
And I'm sure she'll get it. But I really think, my thing is, I don't think, you see, this puts her life in danger.
It does.
This really puts her, I mean, if we think about this, so Granny Flanny, listen to me, Granny Flat or not, right? Granny Flat or not, this puts her life in danger, and we must realize that, because she not only has what it takes to spill the tea on Andrew, but she has so much other tea she can spill. And especially if she's been ousted from the royal family. I mean, if she's got nothing to lose, that makes her a dangerous woman, right? So
Yeah.
you're asking me, I've got no money. Hey, I'm spilling
Exactly.
the tea, baby. Who's the
I
highest
think so.
bidder? Let's
Yeah.
talk. TV
And
program. Let's talk about
exactly.
book deals. Let's talk about
Yeah.
magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah. And I
listen.
think it's
I
coming
mean,
because it's happening.
wow.
What I
I
found
think we
interesting
must
was,
keep an eye on.
yeah, keep an eye on it, because the other
Carry
thing
on.
the other thing that I saw is, the Princess Beatrice is the one that's got the granny flat, which is actually a converted cattle shed. So I mean, my, how the great have fallen. But that move is going to show that is going to be her line in the sand. So that her fieriness as a redhead for being cast aside, next year is where she says, right, I've had enough of this now. This difficult dilemma that I've been part of, I've had enough. I'm going to have to move forward. I don't want to be crushed by this. So there's two things. One thing is that she's never really been able to, and if you remember the last images we did with the other show where I just concentrated on Fergie and Andrew, and we saw those energies where the two of them were literally all entwined with each other in the middle. I'm sure you remember those.
Mm-hmm.
What is going to happen is she is going to move away from that man, Dirty Daddy, so much that she is going to allow herself to meet somebody new. And she's never allowed herself really to meet somebody new. There was always, the Dirty Daddy situation. And part of that testing the water out there is that she remembers the fact that Beatrice, and that's the one that's got the granny flat for her, that part of that tragic story with Beatrice was she had fallen in love with a major, like, older American playboy. And unfortunately for Beatrice and for Fergie, is the late queen here went to Fergie and said, you tell Beatrice she's not allowed to marry him. She's not allowed to be with him. She's not allowed to even consider having anything to do with this American playboy. And that completely and utterly crushed her. And what she then did is she was very embarrassed about all of the things that happened because she couldn't be with the person that she loved. So, and once again, if you look at the ancestral line, which is very true, the ancestral line on Fergie's side, we've got heartbreak, we've got dissension in the ranks, we've got being upset, we've got all of those sides. That those girls, neither of them were ever able to live their own lives. They were never free. So they had to kowtow, toe the line, and all of that is going to start coming out. So, and I think you're going to see that when this jittery, and this is coming already, December, there's this jittery piece of energy that's around all of them. And I see that Kate Middleton will try to find a way to reach out to the two princesses, to, Dirty Daddy Andrew's children. And they are going to be the ones that have to decide whether they're going to stay on the side of the king and the king in waiting and the king in waiting's wife, or whether they're going to be able to look at themselves and decide, well, actually, I want to celebrate my own life, particularly Beatrice, because she has that Eduardo Mozzi. I mean, he's 42 already. So from that point of view, she was never allowed to be with the person that she felt. When I looked at her energy, because I projected her energy from when she was little right through to how she is now. And the sadness within that, which we'll get to in a minute, is that she was never allowed to be with the soulmate, the person that she felt was meant for her. Because she was ordered, not just, oh, we would like you to break up with him. She was ordered by the late queen. Get rid of him. He's not yours. You can't have him. We won't acknowledge this. And there was a big hoo-ha. And then Fergie was the one that had to go to Beatrice and say, no, you can't do this. You can't do that. And you'll muck up your life. And she had to give in and marry who they chose for her and meet new people. So she's never really lived her own life. She's never really been free. And Fergie is at that point now when she moves into Princess Beatrice's converted cowshed that will become the granny flat, she's looking at it and thinking, oh my goodness, this is just like me. So here we've got the ancestral lines. Can you see the ancestral lines going the same way? She's going the same way as Fergie did. She managed to fall in love with somebody, but very quickly that whole love ended, and she was then stuck in this whole royal family debacle where everybody was using everybody else, everybody was saying things. There was huge family turmoil. So we've got Beatrice doing exactly the same thing as her mother, and she realizes the power of ancestral trauma and ancestral contracts at a soul level. So she knows that that's coming. This is why I'm saying, just giving you the background quickly on why there's this whole crushing energy, that Andrew would be crushed if Fergie went and met somebody else and fell in love with somebody else. That's been his backstop all along, because Fergie will eventually remarry, but it's going to be a bit of a tumultuous situation before that happens. If she opens her mouth pretty much and says that will be the end of her specifically in any royal circles, in any major circles. It'll change her life dramatically, but it will also change Eugenie and Beatrice, because the only way then that Charles and William can make amends is to pull the two girls into the firm, into the royal family, and change the energies by giving them more work, by giving them the kudos, giving them the accolades, helping them, paying them more, and giving them some sort of different types of roles to do within the royal family. So they become working royals, and they end up then at that level that they feel they should be. But that, unfortunately, it hasn't been decided yet. And all of it depends right now for them to maintain the royal duties. What is the decision that Fergie is going to take? That's where it comes from.
Okay, let's have a look at the younger, the princesses, the images. Who do you want first, Beatrice or Eugenie?
I think let's go. We can go with the redhead, which is Eugenie. Let's have a look at her, because she's the lesser of them. So this was one of the images that I looked at her, and I looked at some of her images. Now you can see she's very fresh faced. She's a very lovely child. She has that very good sets of energy. She has all the bright energies around her. She's really just a little or young girl who's now being taught by these different ambassadors and individuals that have got a really strong connection with the royal family. And this is just, it's a beautiful young girl that hasn't really realized the potential she has, and also hasn't realized what exactly she could be doing, which is a difficult situation, because she doesn't really have the opportunity to pull herself out of it, because at this stage, with what we're looking at, she doesn't really know. She was also, there's those colors that show that she was incredibly lonely, and also that from part of her within herself, she was a bit worried about people that were around her. She didn't trust people around her. If you have a look at her energies with her too, she's got that where she's trying to reveal herself as a person, but actually she doesn't really know herself as a person. She's a byproduct of Andrew and Fergie, and that's how she sees herself. She doesn't get that level of support. She's a bit behind the scenes. She doesn't really know what to say, so she tends to rather be quiet, because at the end of the day, she's one that's not going to come out and say too much. She has a whirlwind around her where she's not sure, but she beams with lovely energy when she was young, and she's got to just try to move past her fear of being in the public. She's also got to make herself be heard, and she can't do that. So, with all of that, some of the royal duties, she's considering them, but also she's a bit afraid, because she's looking at them and she thinks, oh my goodness, this is like a really personal type of event. These are things I'm being asked to do. I'm not really focused on me. I don't quite know. I'm worried about the fallout. So as this young girl, before she was a debutante, before she moved into and was taken out and be part of the royal circle, you know, the shoes she was walking in was one of fear, loneliness, and not really knowing what her place is in the world. Because, I mean, let's face it, if you have a mother that is that strong and is that out in the public, and a father that was also quite naughty as a younger man, those two are a very difficult act to follow. So that's why if you have a look at her energy and the appearance of her, you know, she really is like a scared little mouse. And that had to be not bred out of her, but it had to be schooled out of her. So she had to be taught, this is what you do, this is how you sit, this is how you sit at the table, this is what you do. So all of those different ladies in waiting and different individuals would have helped schooling her. But that still meant that that child was still very alone, very, very alone, which is actually really sad. Out of the two princesses, out of Beatrice and Eugenie, you know, they are both very emotional. However, the Princess Eugenie is very retracted. She's very quiet, and she moves herself out of the limelight. She keeps her distance. She really does. She keeps her distance, like she doesn't talk much to the Meghan Markle individual. And even, you know, the Prince Harry situation, she's moved herself away from that too. So she out of all of them, I think she is one of the ones that is the most difficult one to pinpoint, because she's quiet. And this lovely, beautiful young girl that we see in front of us is long gone. And she's trying to deal with, you know, basically a hornet's nest that she's got happening around her. So this is her now a bit later. And we see then all these circles around her where we've got the men, the ladies in waiting, and this is the schooling. Do this, be that, go and do that, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And this is the pressure. So now we see that lovely young girl aura has changed to this teenager into her 20s aura, where she's realized, oh, sherbet, I need to be able to do these things because I'm expected to do that. And she can't really stand away from it and say, well, my sister can do it, I don't need to do it, my sister can do it. So all of this is revolving around her as a very, very difficult teen into her early 20s. And I think there should be one more.
I just see there's so much masculine energy around the poor girl.
Yes.
You know, it just seems she was handled, you know. I mean, it's obvious these girls are handled. And I can't get away from the fact that, I'm sorry, there's definitely been some kind of programming going on there. And I see this particularly in this picture. To me, she's lost touch with who she is. She's lost touch with reality in many ways. She's kind of like a shell of herself. She doesn't, she's behaving in a way that is completely schooled. The girl, the young girl, the innocence is gone. She's now almost like a puppet. Do what I say. Say and I say and you do.
And this is it. And these men, it's a very disturbing one, because you've got, if you look at the picture, the top of and the bottom, there's a big circle. And we've got a generational brainwashing. That's the one at the bottom. There's a circle. The one at the top is another circle. And this is generational brainwashing. And she does feel with that energy, which is really sad, that she's not accepted. And the other thing that we see coming from this is that the energy shows that she's not good enough, and she's not good enough to be invited to Christmas functions, family functions, and participate in what would have been, you know, the requirement for the new royals, princesses particularly, to be part of a family. And this is why you only see the men around the outside. You only see the controllers, and you only see the handlers. And that's what you're seeing in this picture, is she will never be considered good enough. Because also, if her mother Fergie decides to go down the route that I think she will go down, that her reputation will be absolutely flawed. And I think she knows that this could be coming. I doubt that she will be invited to Christmas functions. And I think she will be marginalized, because that's what these men are doing, is they are reducing the level of issue that she could make if Andrew ends up going to America and giving testimony that he's been asked to do, and a lot more comes out. And even more so if Fergie, the mother, comes out and says what she should say in order to get the truth out there. This is why this is particularly good. It means that she can get rid of all these men that are controlling her, which will be wonderful for her, because it means her free spirit and that beautiful young girl that we saw, the young child that we saw, who had a lovely aura, who was clean, very shiny. She can go back to being that, and she can reinvent herself and move away from all the awful things that are due to come out. So you're right, it is a very disturbing image.
She's when I look at that, she's, as I said, to me, she's definitely lost. She's secretive. There's stuff that's happened with her that she doesn't talk about, that she keeps a secret. She's had princess programming, for sure.
Yeah,
That's screaming loud and clear. And she's the princess, like the Cinderella princess, if there's anything like that. So she's the one who has the title, but that's all she can call herself. But she does the dirty work, or she's never treated like a princess. That's the thing. So she's in that, and that's how they've split her. They've split her in the sense that she has the title, but nothing is making her feel like a princess. So she has that, and she's definitely been split, and there's definitely been programming done on her. Things, she's got to be very secretive about things. She has to keep quiet about things. She has to keep things quiet. That's what I see a lot with her. She's not allowed to talk. There's something, you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk. So she's completely gone within. Absolutely.
She's hiding inside herself. Yeah. And also, what does come out in that image is that, both her and her sister did spend time with the JE person at his either one of his properties. And I think that her father, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he also why on earth he allowed his own children to go to the JE properties. I just would not even know. I mean, it's so silly. Why would you put your own girls, knowing full well that your best buddy is he really likes the youngsters? Why would you put the two young princesses? Why would you do that?
Did he have a choice? I don't think he had a choice. That's my answer. He never had a choice. That was part of what he had to do. It was part of their programming. And she was definitely split. This thing coming out the top of her head, I almost like there's something coming out the top of her head which tells me she escapes a lot. She likes to escape. She does not like being in her body. She does not like life on earth. And like with so many others, they do not let her leave. She's not allowed to leave. She's trapped.
Very sad.
And that's very sad for me with this girl.
Yeah, and what I do like,
let's look at this one.
I think, is the red anger in that picture as well. There was a lot of popping. So now this is projecting where she is and where she wants to move to. So her energies around her show that she has got the capabilities with all the colors of her chakra points. If she decides, I'm not having any of this nonsense anymore, I am a princess, but I can be my own person. So when we see this now, we're projecting this energy of where she would like to be in the future, because she doesn't want to be this little timid mouse forever. She doesn't want to be the one that actually has got no place of her own in this world, and that is the way she feels. And we see with these energies going around her, there's a lot of opportunity that's going to come to her, but it really does depend on the choices that the Fergie person makes, i.e. her mother, if she goes down the path of ruining their reputation, both her and her sister, she will then be free enough to go and be her own person. So she's grasping at straws at the moment. She's very angry too, but she's grasping at straws. But the good thing for her is whatever is there, she's showing her kind heart. I mean, she's making the cow shed. She's making that into a very beautiful little cottage for her mother. Plus, her husband is helping with renovating the cottage. So she's doing everything that she could as a dutiful daughter. But this particular image tells us she's waiting, and she's waiting to decide where she wants to go and what she wants to do, because she hasn't made a decision yet. She's gone with her children to Winter Wonderland, and she's been filmed all over the place. But she knows there's lots of whispers. She knows that King Charles and Prince William are all looking at, well, what can we do with these people? What can we do with the two princesses? What do we need to do? And it's highly controversial for her, but secretively within herself, she's dealing with her pain. She wants to heal her pain. And actually, she wants to turn her back on everything because she's just about had enough.
I think definitely what I sense here is this thing with her father has woken her up. I feel like in the last 4 years, 7 years, started 7 years ago, but particularly the last 4 years, I feel like 7 years ago she started waking up to things. And especially in the last 4 years, she's actually not only waking up, but she's starting to move inwardly. She's starting to take action. She's starting to think differently. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, I'm getting ready. So I'm getting ready to take action. Something in her is making her make her own decisions that she's never had to do before. She, I am pretty damn sure, is starting to wake up from her programming. This girl's starting to wake up from her programming. This one.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that she can't get away from, unfortunately for her, and this is something that irks her, is she is, King Charles's niece. And this is something that irks her, because when you look at all the different PR stunts that were done with Princess Beatrice, and how definitely significant mistakes were made. They were absolutely. And you've got all of those areas that have to be addressed. And both of them, I did notice in both of their auras, they had this feeling and this energy of being very lonely and very hard done by, and that no one would listen to them. And really, at the end of the day, they were just, breeders, and they were even told who they could date, who they could be married to, and what they could do as themselves. They've never really stamped anything at all about themselves at all, not in any way. And they've just stayed this very, very lonely young girls all of the time, because as much as they'd had warnings about, the Andrew and Epstein huge scandal, they have still stayed loyal to both of their parents. Plus, they've also been trying to look at how personally they could change their own lives. They haven't come up with a plan yet, because really the secret deals that are being discussed with Fergie right now, until that comes out, they won't really be able to say, well, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm going to do it.
Fergie is so greedy. She's making sure she's getting the best out of everything, boy. My word. I just got a glimpse of her energy here in Beatrice's aura. I don't know, something in the back there. She's like a Slytherin, man. She slithers in and out of there. Eek. That mother. And that Fergie has got a hold on these girls too. The way I see it, it's almost like the three of them, there's like a triangulation or triangle, whatever that means, between the three of them. It's like they've got this secret code going on between them. It's like they can telepath between the three of them. That's the weirdest thing. It's like, and she controls the narrative. Fergie controls the. I wouldn't be surprised if she's both of their handlers, or at least one of this the one here. It wouldn't surprise me if, as a mother, she's their handler, because she has to control the narrative as to what is being said, who's saying what, um, and how much money is being brought in. And yes, you need to put me in your granny flat because I've nowhere to go now. All this manipulation, right? Look at that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. This is it. And there's
That
going
would
to be a
not surprise me.
devastating effect on them. Really, absolutely
Totally.
devastating. But it's a good thing, because I think
Wow.
that this level of energy has to happen to the two girls, because they do have to decide what they're going to do going forward. Are they going to stay in the position as the nieces to the king and get more, probably more jobs to do, be out and represent the royal families here, there, and everywhere, and try to be the best royal that they could be, which would for them will be quite ruthless, because at the end of the day, they're still trying to be faithful and loyal to both of their parents. So it's a very, very thin line that the two of them are walking.
Totally.
Mm.
Totally. And it just shows you their lives are never their own. I mean, you look at the royals. I mean, more and more we're seeing, no matter whether you're a British royal or a Spanish royal or a Turkish royal or
Mm.
a Saudi royal, you are trapped. I mean, you hear the stories about these Saudi princesses, right? And these princesses in Dubai. I mean, they are trapped under the worst conditions. They get let out with all glitz and glam and for public events, but they go back home and they are trapped. I mean, it's not even a joke. Anyway,
Yeah, it is. It
okay,
is.
here's the next one.
Next
So
one.
this would be a little Beatrice. That's a little Beatrice.
So we've got a different energy with the little one. So we've got a lot of very acute energy. We've got a lot of spiritual energy. If I ask you to look at her forehead and look at the energy that's coming from her. So she's got a good connection with animals, a good connection with people, and she does want to be something and do something different with herself. She really, really does. And she's finding it very hard, because everything when she was born, right up to, and this, she's not even 13 yet, she's still little in this, she's about 8 or 9, and she was still very balanced, and she was just enjoying herself as a little girl, which is absolutely fine. And that, of course, we know when she decides to start coming out into society, that changes. We see also that she's sitting on a bed of orbs, and the orbs are all the future contracts that she signed for herself at a soul level, of things that she has to do. So, as a little one, if we plot her
She's the
course as she's going forward,
Sorry,
yeah,
carry on, Bev.
yep, go ahead.
We've got a lag. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. You were saying she's the what?
This one is knows what she wants. That's for sure. She's a determined little soulless. Knew exactly what she was coming in here for. I mean,
Yeah.
if you just look at her chakras and how aligned they are, and if you just look at, as you say, what's behind her, and you look at all the orbs and the contracts, she
Mm,
has a lot of she has a lot of knowledge in the spirit realm. That's for sure. Um, she's clever, she's witty, manipulative, can be damn devious. But with her, you could go either way. This one, you could go either way. She
mm,
could turn either way. Get on a good day and she'll be like this. Get on a bad day and she'll be like that. That's how I feel with her. But she's strong and she knows what she wants. She's determined. This one's very determined. Jeez. Oof.
yeah. Very, very
I
determined.
would
And
not like. Uh, uh,
mm,
yeah.
and the thing is, I think that at some point they would have liked to have been full-time royals. They would have liked to have, you know, taken some sort of position in the family. But I do think that both of them Beatrice and Eugenie are trying to carry on the best that they can. But if you have a look at how much you actually see them in the public domain now and what you see them doing, it's almost like, when I was looking at them, I thought it's like they're bumbling along and they're waiting, because they're not full-time working roles. You know, they do have their own private public careers, but at the end of the day, the problem with them is that they are not actually allowed to do very much. They can do things like, you know, work in AI, and you know, they can have these asset companies and these technology companies, you know, because the princesses have got the Buy EQ Limited, and they've got another one which is Affinity Technologies, and they've got Liontree Asset Management. So they've got a lot of ties in with Saudi Arabia, and that in itself is quite difficult, because we know that certain countries, across those particular countries, there's a lot of trafficking in those areas. There's a lot of aspects that are quite unfavorable. So when you see how things are moving and where they're moving to, they're going to have to think very carefully, what are they going to do if the proverbial SH1T hits the fan? What is the position that both of the princesses are going to be able to take? Because they're both very involved with all sorts of charities, and they've also been sort of named as individuals that will take over where their father was ousted in those other philanthropic organizations. They have taken on the challenge for him, so that at least there is still that particular part of Andrew's life is still there through his children. They also both make a lot of, they're in the public a lot with the charities. But when you look to see if there's anything out there that makes it obvious that they are going to be doing something specific, then there isn't much at all, mainly because none of them have decided exactly what they are going to do. So it's a fine line that they're walking right now.
Okay, there's another one. Getting older.
This is when we now start jumping into where she's the blonder version. If you look at the two, you've got the one with the absolute red hair, which is like her mum, and then you've got this particular one, which is the blonder version. So, you know, you've got two different types, even though they're only 2 years apart. Their path of destiny and their soul contracts are very, very different. So you've got children within her auric field. You've got the energies in her auric field. And as you see, I've put the wedding ring on her because she's married. And you've got an entirely different way of life, an entirely different way for her to decide how she can go forward, because she has to make a lot of decisions. And I think they're going to be very difficult decisions. But she has to decide for herself what will be right for her and what will be right for her moving forward in her own life, because it's extremely difficult. And she hasn't got a lot of auric energy there. Her energy is very low. She's very tired, quite irritable, because she really cannot see the wood for the trees. And in a way, her own aura is very young still. She's been mollycoddled. She's been brought up in cotton wool. She doesn't really know much about the real world.
It's so interesting because I see such a contrast in this image when she's a few years older to when she was young. It's like coming in, she knew who she was. Now it feels like, and as you say, she doesn't have much of an aura. It's exactly what I thought. It's like the life's been sucked out of her. I feel almost like she could be having health issues because there's no flow of energy. And yes, angry, frustrated, confused, lots of that, and feeling shortchanged. She feels like she's been shortchanged, and definitely feels like she needs or deserved more royalty, if that makes sense. And when I look at that, the castle or the palace, whatever that is on the top of her head,
Yes.
it's like that's what she thinks about a lot. And I see in past lives, she's definitely had lots of royal lifetimes. She likes being a royal, this one. She really does. And she wishes she had more influence. She likes influence, this one. And she's not getting it. She feel, and it's like, I feel like that energy is being sucked out of her. And that's through programming. And I've no doubt, again, these girls have been programmed. They've got handlers. They've also been through that whole royal torture, abuse, whatever it is. None of these kids get off scot-free. So,
No.
I see that as well, but this one's got more anger issues. She loses control more than the other one. It's like she can get angry, this one. Loses control. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's on some type of medication for that or something.
Yeah, I did think
mind,
that she was. I think she was on medication because she's had to hold it in. They are both lonely, and they both have, because they're only 2 years apart, whatever they saw and perceived, they ended up seeing and perceiving it the same way, which is very sad because they have not been able to be their own people. And yes, you are right, they are very controlled. They're very controlled to a point where actually they've kind of forgotten who they really are, unfortunately, which is really, really sad. And, you don't get to that point and, just have to push it all to the side. Yes, they're both very charming, and they do have that ability to be able to be charming, but they also do not have the ability to bring about a clever move. Neither of them have got that capacity to be shrewd or anything remotely like that.
Yes. Their hands are tied. It's like I see them both standing and their hands on the side of their body hanging, and they can't move. It's like the arms are limp. And again, that's telling me something about the control that they've been under, or the programming, the inability to move. They're not allowed to move. They can't move. They can't. It's exactly that. They can't do anything right now. And that's frustrating. And it's causing arguments between them.
Yes.
I can see that. There's arguments between them. She is very angry with her mother, this one. Who's this? Which one? Beatrice. This one's very angry with her mother. She blames her mother for a lot of things. She doesn't like her mom much. She doesn't get on with her very well.
And if the mum Fergie decides, well, I've got nothing left to lose. She is
exactly.
Theoretically closer to Beatrice than she's not as close to Eugenie. But the issue that we have there is that if the mother, and she hasn't made the decision yet, which is why we can talk about it, because it hasn't come out yet. Nobody has said anything about it. But this is happening, secret squirrel behind the scenes. And depends if that comes out. And if Sarah Ferguson decides, yes, I'm going to do it because I've got nothing else left to lose. I'm on the bones of my bottom. And actually, I need to be able to look after myself, because she's not very good. She's not very good, at managing money, is Fergie. I mean, it's common knowledge over here. She's just sold two of her London apartments to be able to keep herself going. So what does that tell you? I mean, would you trust that woman with something? Well, because she's going to blow her money and that's it.
She likes to spend money. That's the thing. So, and that's a dangerous person. For the royal family, she's dangerous. For the rest of the world, she might be the godsend we need, right? For all of us, those years that scoffed Fergie, and I never did, I have to say. I never scoffed Fergie. I actually always really felt a lot of compassion for her. And I always thought, really, they could have done so much better a job on her public appearance. I don't know why they didn't. Seriously, that's unforgivable of them, in my opinion. A royal woman has to have be dressed well, and they did not do a good job with her. So all of the, it's like funny for me because, you know, when we go back to the beginning, and it just dawned on me, as I said, she seems to be the most powerful woman right now because of all the ammunition she holds, right? You can
Yeah.
see her daughters. She controls the daughters. She controls the daughters completely, right? And that's the thing. But it's
Yeah.
like there's a sense of weird loyalty. They are extremely loyal to each other. That's why I say it's like the three of them is a triangle that they go between. There's like this absurd loyalty, even though they can argue and get really mad.
Yes.
She won't betray her mother. That's the thing.
No.
She will never
True.
betray her mother. But there's definitely fighting within the ranks, if you want to call it that, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, big,
So let's
big
see.
style. I mean, William and Kate are not even going to King Charles's Christmas lunch. So, you know, when you know that that's going down, you think, oh my agony aunt, there they go, they're at it again. So, and here we have one of the last plates. I think there's another plate that's coming up, and this one shows how the energy is trying very desperately to hum itself and move itself out and rise up. And it's just not happening right now. Maybe it will change later, but it's being pushed up through the top chakra point in desperation, which is really sad actually. But you can see again, if you have a look on the corners, we've got the little balls of energy, and each and every one of them, if you have a look at them, each and every one of them has a male member in it, an ancestral member, or somebody that is alive that is part of the handling of these individuals. So once again, we see the girls are being handled. The person at the top, they're all male, but I do think that there is another female individual within the family that is the person that is handling both of the girls right now. This is a very tenuous situation. It's not a good situation for either of the princesses to be in. It's a very dangerous situation. The other reason that it is dangerous is because, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I was looking at JE, when we were talking about chipolata sausages, he actually put a hit out on both Fergie and Andrew. So that was a key thing. Now that
You were
hasn't gone away.
saying, please,
Yes.
please just talk about that again, about the HIT from JE to Andrew and Fergie. That would be actually something I would like to hear about.
Yeah, to hear about it again. I think yes, because Sarah Ferguson is now. I saw last week or the week before when we were talking about them and the HIT on her, that she's had to decide to rein it in. Fergie, she's not going to be moving elsewhere. She will definitely not be going to live in Portugal, which is what previously everybody thought that she'd just beetle off and go and start her life somewhere else in Portugal. That's not happening because that threat is a very real threat still. Because unfortunately for her, her ex-husband, the dirty dad, he can dish the dirt, and he has got emails, and if it comes down to between him and keeping the name of JE intact, he is going to dish the dirt too. And that would mean that that particular HIT, where there was a sniper and a particular person that is extremely well versed in being able to take out individuals, that individual was paid by JE. That contract and that target on their backs and the money on top of their head, I see that still stands. So, there is a lot more happening here than meets the eye. Don't be fooled that, she's going to move, Fergie is going to move into the home of Princess Beatrice, into the converted cowshed. That's fine. But what she does with the evidence, what is she going to do with the evidence? This is the issue. Is, yes, she'll be able to walk around in a safe area, but a sniper can get you anywhere.
Yeah, I think that look what they did to Diana.
Yeah, exactly.
I think all of us on this show understand that that was no accident, right?
Mm.
So, and she certainly wasn't dishing dirt on this level. But the times are different now. That was about 2 decades ago, if memory serves me.
Yeah, it was.
So
Yeah,
now she, obviously she's got, yeah, and it's true what you say, Beverly.
yeah, yeah.
He himself, Andrew, Dirty Daddy, he has himself got so much information, probably on her too. So the two of them can be sitting there blackmailing each other about who's
Yeah.
going to dish the dirt on what.
And I think with the two of
Oh
them,
my
they
goodness.
they are going to have to get together at some point and decide, what are we going to leak anonymously? What are we, they're going to have to come up with a strategy, because at the moment, all I see, it's like cow patties in the field. When you walk into a field and you're looking for mushrooms, you never know how many cow patties you're going to stand in, because they're all over the place. And that's how I see, both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson energy. It looks like cow patties all over the place. There doesn't seem to be any, direct strategy. There doesn't seem to be a way forward to deal with the damaged brand. And the damaged brand, unfortunately for the two girls, they are the damaged brand. They are the ones, even though they didn't do the deed and they weren't the ones that were caught, in a very difficult situation. They are not the ones that can turn around and say, well, I didn't do this, it wasn't me. Take it out on somebody that actually did the deed. They can't do that because they are the progeny. They are the children of those two royals. They have got that legacy, unfortunately. And they don't want to be responsible for what their parents have done. They absolutely don't want to. So they're going to have to look
Yeah,
at how are
that's
they
so
how
true.
are they going to be responsible for their future. Let's be honest here. They don't really have a particularly bright shining future. Not really. you know. So the king is not going to look
Sure.
on them
What?
favorably.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I think again, I think it's such a interesting time because these again are people that hold the secrets.
Mm,
So,
mm,
as you say, JE could well have taken a hit out on those two because they have a lot of information. But I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that they've got their insurance as well. I mean, I'm pretty sure that these people are clever enough to make sure there's a couple of hard drives or something with a lot of information on. So I don't know. I mean, I think Harry is gonna not Harry, sorry, William is gonna have to really think very carefully because William himself is aware of all the dirty shenanigans that has been going on in the royal family. There's no way he's not aware of it. He's going to have to cover up some, but I think he also has to realize that the world knows a lot more now about the royals than what they did 20 years ago. So he's going to have to make some very clever decisions here
Mm,
in
mm,
terms of how he treats Dirty Daddy and Fergie and the daughters, because ultimately it doesn't exclude them. All the royals are kitty lovers. They're all kitty sniffers and much worse. All of them. And they all know that. So I don't know. At the end of the day, how dangerous is Fergie? And how
very.
dangerous is Andrew? Because there can be a lot that comes out, and it would be very suspicious to have her unalived now, because then people would really start asking questions, right? So they've got to be very careful in terms of how I just see it's like such a fine line in that household, if you want to call it that,
Yes.
hellhole. I can't imagine it's a household. It's probably more like a hellhole, that palace. God,
I would
imagine
imagine
spending
it
a
must
night
be.
there. I'd have nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's one of those
I'd be
very,
running out
very
of there so
awful.
quickly.
But the interesting thing is
Sure.
that when I looked at Prince William and I looked at the two young princesses, I saw that there was an energy swirling around them, particularly. And Princess Eugenie was the one that was not overly keen. But I think the Princess Beatrice was trying, because she's a bit of a peace lover secretly, and she doesn't like all this trouble. She doesn't want all this trouble. She just wants justice. But she knows she's never going to get it. And I think that one of them or both of them have asked to meet with Prince William. And they're going to have to thrash it out, because everybody needs to know, what is the blessing that King Charles will do going forward within the firm, the organization that they call, all the royals. What is going to be something that is acceptable? And now I'm going to really dish the dirt on something that I discovered, which I had to go back and I had to think, oh, bloody hell, what's this? And I saw that Prince William was looking into all the finer details around his mother's passing. Now, that has never been quoted anywhere before, and nobody has actually even bothered to investigate whether that's something that's true. But I saw this unusual energy, and it only happened briefly when Eugenie and Beatrice were going to meet with William. And then there suddenly was this energy around the Princess Diana. He's got questions, and he's got 452 questions, and he's not getting a lot of those questions answered. So what is very interesting is that these youngsters, not the older group, so in other words, not the parents and not the uncles and the aunts and the older ones, it's the youngsters, the ones that are round about the same age as William, Kate, the Markle issue, as well as Harry, and then of course the two princesses. They all had their own questions, and I think William will also have to put all of those issues to bed, because he is the king in waiting, and I think he needs to have something really good and something concrete. And that's when that popped up, and I thought, that's an interesting energy. What's inside that energy? So I popped inside the energy and had a look and thought, aha, this is coming from the king in waiting. So this is coming from William. He's questioning the hows, the whys, the wherefores. And he's also reduced himself to a smaller energy and divorced himself, moved himself away from the Camilla and Charles issue, because he wants to make a decision as his own man. So I'm thinking that his energy is looking at things differently. He is the king in waiting, so he can wait until he's in position of power that he can do something about it. But I think that he's going to be making a lot of wide sweeping understanding statements, and he's also going to be looking and saying, well, actually, why did this happen? Why was this done this way? Shouldn't we have done better as the firm and the royal family? Shouldn't we have treated this in a different light? He's going to be asking a lot of the very, very, very difficult questions. And that's going to shed a lot of light onto the royal family. So it's all going to start coming out in the wash. And we're hoping that this energy that we see and the other energies from the other princess, that actually they get to the point where they're not lonely anymore, and they get to the point where they can live their own lives and they can be free. Because, yes, they were born to royalty, but they don't have to be prisoners in the castle. They don't have to be the princess, in the tower. They don't have to be. They can make a decision to get rid of all that and just be normal people.
Sure. Okay, let's have a look at the last one.
So this is the last one, and this is the groups of handlers. Now, I've specifically put a female energy in there. And exactly as you'd said earlier, that person is a female energy in the royal family that does have a direct result or energetic influence on both princesses. So there is a female handler within the royal family that is handling them. So that I found very interesting too, because they don't always have just men. It is, as you can see by the image, 90% men. There's one female individual, but the female individual might as
Beverly,
well
can you
be
hear
a
me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I
Okay,
can't hear
sorry,
you now.
I just had just you went blank in my ears for a minute.
Oh,
Just
okay.
want to make sure that everyone else could hear you and it was only a fault from me. But
Okay.
please, will you just go back and repeat? If you don't mind talking. The last I heard was that they have a female handler.
Okay, so when you look at the top string of portraits, you'll see very definitely there is one female image there, and that one female image is an individual that is very masculine, but all of the other handlers of both of the princesses and Fergie are all male, except for this one female individual who's very masculine in her way and her looks and the way that she is, and she's much older. So that's the one aspect that I'm hoping will come out at some point. Also, we've got the final area with the big questions. You can see behind the silhouette is the path. And this is the path that is moving forward, which is the soul contract. So what did each of them sign? And there is that triangulation between the mother and the two daughters. There's a triangle going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. And that's where we see the triangle at the bottom of the image. This means that that red anger that we see, that is going to play a huge role in how this rolls out. And it's also going to provide all sorts of questions that will be answered and information that is going to become available, because all of this is coming out, and it's coming out within the next 12 to 15 months. So we can't ignore all the different whispers that are happening, why it is that, the two princesses feel that they were very unfairly judged, and that they unfortunately have a desire to move because they don't want to be lonely anymore. And all of this is going to create that bright red that we see at the back. And that's feeding very carefully, drip, 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 feeding into that red ball that's happening. So there is a lot that's at stake here. So we have to watch very carefully, because the way that these individuals will lie and cheat and throw other people under the bus, that's all coming now.
So who is the female handler?
The female handler, I think, is probably the one that was the horse rider. The older woman. It's not a younger woman. It's the older woman. Because we have a look and we can see all the images there that it was male, and only one female was strong enough to handle the girls, and of course to handle Fergie, because let's face it, it's like a loose cannonball running around. So who was the one that gave the order for the breakup and the heartbreak? It was actually the Queen herself. Before she passed, she said, this is not the right person to be in our family. But she gave that order to her direct individual that was in the palace with her, and said, you are the one that has to go and tell Fergie, this is what we want and this is what it can be, but they will not accept anything else. So this is where it's going. And I'm sure that with all that's been made obvious through the energies, through the different waves, all of this is going to start trickling out next year. And you know what? We thought that Dallas was a good soap opera. Wait until you see the royal soap opera. It's going to be fantastic, because people are going to be shocked. Clutch my pearls. Oh my God. Look at what's happening. Clutch my pearls. This is terrible. Yeah. Expect this to happen.
I actually, Colleen actually put an interesting question forward. Basically asking if you could, and now let me just find it here now. Can you distinguish the difference in energy between an original and a clone? Or is there a difference in energy between an original and a clone? Because I think we know clones will always contain the consciousness. You can't have a clone unless it contains the consciousness of the original person anyway, right? I'm not sure. What's your reply to that, Bev?
The consciousness is only, having dealt with clones myself personally, and having had 12 ovums, eggs, removed from me and sold at auction. They were sold in batches of 4. And from those 12 eggs, there were 4 clones that were created. Remember, clones are not just created in a test tube. Now, I want to clarify that. They're not just created in a test tube. They're not just those that are made and created and then grown and put back into the womb of the person that is going to birth them. They are also created directly from eggs that are stolen or taken under supervision from the person that is going to be the baseline. So it is possible that if there was a baseline, i.e. Fergie, and somebody else's male energy, i.e. spermazota, if that was then used, that would mean that a portion of that life force and energy of that child actually was carried by, obviously, Fergie. So both of those, if there were any of their eggs or the eggs of Fergie that were harvested illegally or harvested in such a way that they could use it to create another person like the 2 princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie, then they wouldn't have all of the life force or all of the soul. They would only have a portion of it. So like the eggs that were taken from me and created into beings, when you look at them and what they looked like, except for the one, Antica, because she was mixed with another race of beings, but she was baseline human mixed with feline. So that's her. We'll put it to the side. But the 3 that were taken and utilized and then fertilized and age progressed, because that capability is available. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 facilities here on Earth that can do that. And out of those 6 facilities, if they had taken ovum from Fergie, it's quite easy for them to create another 2 princesses if they needed to. But they would not have all of the energies that the 2 original soul owners. They would be husks, and the husk would have a portion of that energy, not all of the energy of the original. Like I'm the original. I had the eggs removed from me. They were sold, and the individuals that had that, part of me, my soul entity, my soul plan, my soul that was part of source, a small portion of that went because it's part of my body, part of my soul. And that would have been the same with Fergie. But we don't know whether she did that, because they would need DNA and tissue from the original parent in order to create 2 new individuals like Beatrice and Eugenie. They would need all of that material, and we can't say for sure whether they had that material. I hope that answers the question.
Would they be identical? I mean, if you look at, even though they're taking the same eggs and creating the designer babies or the splice babies, because that sounds like what you're talking about, right? The splice babies, is that the same thing? So
they would be the same thing if that's the person that they wanted. I mean, it's like where they clone a lovely dog that you've loved, all your life, but then that is an exact replica of the dog that you lost. It's exactly the same thing. They would need to they'd need to have the same DNA, in other words, Andrew and Fergie's DNA, in order to create the clone.
And would you feel the difference in the energy of the original clone or the original the original and the
You
clone.
would. Yes, you would. You would definitely feel
Right.
the difference because, it's the
That's what I
difference
would think.
between,
I would
it's
think,
the
yeah.
difference between a whole pie and a quarter of a pie or half a pie. So when you look at a pie that you have, that there's a piece missing from it or three pieces missing from it, that would be the difference. The person, the original soul, i.e. me, and my three, I always knew. I could feel where they were. I knew that they weren't here, that they were somewhere else, and I could feel that part of my soul was elsewhere. But that part of my soul was actually in danger, or was being hurt, or was being sent somewhere, or was being locked up somewhere, was really traumatized and upset and crying. So you can feel that. So they would not be a whole person, if you like. They would be a partial person, because they know that their originator, which would be the person that the tissue was taken from, they would know. A clone knows that they're not the original. They do know that, because at the soul level, they know it's not their soul. They know that they've been created to do a job.
Yeah.
And once their job is done, then that's the end of the husk. The husk then is no longer in use, which is very sad. I don't believe that either of those girls are husks. I don't believe that they're clones, because if they were clones, then their aura would be very, very different. I do believe they've chosen pretty
Right.
yucky paths and yucky soul contracts to have to deal with. They didn't choose very well, that's for sure.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, what would a clone's aura look like to you if you would, let's say, put the original and then the clone next to each other and you would read the aura? And let's say
Okay.
the original is a happy green. Let's say the original is a happy green, just for
Mm-hmm.
argument's sake. So, what would the clone's aura or energy look like?
Well, depending on whether they're negatively charged or positively charged, because those are two colors on their own, depends what they were
Right.
created for. And also depends on whether, one of those clones was utilized to become a warrior and go forth and, basically kick backside and get what they needed to get. So that would be dark. But they would have whatever the green is, as you say, in the main husk, or the main person that owns the genetic material. If it was green, then that would have a small amount of green on the aura. So you would know that if you're looking at the original and you're looking at the carbon copy, you would know that carbon copy belongs to that green one. Those are two in the same. That's your breadcrumb trail, so to say.
And I would imagine that you'd have to be a very good energy reader to tell the difference sometimes. Because as someone, I read energy, that's my gift. Um, and I would imagine that it can be such a similar
It can be.
clone, right? It
Yeah.
can be so, it's like literally like a photocopy of the other one. So you'd have to be very, um, you'd have to understand the difference between the original and a photocopy. I mean, if you made 100 photocopies, right?
Then
The
you'd see
hundredth
it
one might be a little bit, yes,
faded.
but not maybe
Faded.
the first 10, for example.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that easy to detect, but generally there are ways that you can detect whether somebody is just a husk and somebody is a carbon copy of someone else who's walking here. And I think we see it a lot more now, because people come and they say, "Oh my God, did you know I was in Greece, or I was in Australia, and there was a person that came up to me and called me so and so and so and so." Then they say, "I look just like so and so that lives down the road," because this is where some of the clones that are walking the earth. Because also we get individuals that have got no souls as well. We get them as well that are also walking the earth, that are
Mm,
nothings.
sure.
They're just like
Yeah.
players, or they're just like, what do you call them? Guest appearances of individuals here, there, and everywhere that have actually just bumbling around and have got no soul in themselves at all.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, interesting. Fantastic show. And I think we hour and 45 minutes in. So I think we will definitely call it a day, a night for tonight. So thank you, Beverli. And
It's a little bit different. So watch the
we will
space.
see you.
Watch the space.
Yeah. And we will see you guys tomorrow on Solutions with Spiritual Forensics, where Beverli and I look at more cold cases, criminal cases, ex cases, current cases, whatever it might be, and we just shine our spiritual light on there and yeah, offer some truth from the perspective that we see it. So join us on Solutions with Shanti tomorrow at 7:30 in the evening, Central Africa time, or GMT +2. GMT +2 or Central Africa time. Bev, lovely to see you.
Likewise.
Is there anything you want to say just before ending or rounding up or something?
Most important is to make sure that you start healing yourself and that you use this fantastic energy. We've got 3i Atlas that's sending down that energy. Use that time now positively, productively to do the work on yourself, so that when we go into the new year next year, that you already have a plan. Because if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if that is what you can do, decide what you want for next year, because as you believe, what you perceive will eventually come true for you. So start making a plan on what you want your best life to be.
And just focus on that. And don't focus on what you don't want. Don't
No.
focus on the things you hate. Don't focus on the things that make you unhappy.
Because you'll end up
Focus on
getting
what
them.
you do want.
Yeah, that's it. Fantastic. Thank you, Shanti, again for having me as a guest.
Take it. Anytime, hun. Anytime. And I'll see you back tomorrow. I'm looking forward. See you all, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in the chats. And thank you for, absolutely joining in the chat, participating. Fantastic to see you all. And I'll see you back tomorrow on Solutions with Shanti. Take it easy. God bless. And be cool. Be kind.